Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. All right, Bill.
All right, James.
Good morning.
Today's adventure, our many adventures today, leads us to one of our favorite people.
Yeah, I love that I have the ability to bring my close friends on. And everyone that we brought on is someone that we know or have learned about.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good friends of mine. But I will have to say that I have a special relationship with Shannon Musgrave of Keller Willams. She has turned into be one of my dearest friends. And we keep planning on getting wine together, but we've always missed the mark. But we're going to do that soon. But Shannon, thank you for coming. Shannon Musgrave of Keller Willams. We are so glad you're here today.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. As those who don't know, Keller Willams is a real estate
empire, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say
worldwide.
Worldwide,
large.
Yeah.
Huge. And obviously, you're an agent there here in Lake Nona. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
There's so much we want to talk about and so much we want to learn about you. And hopefully you'll share some insights as well on the current market. But I would love our audience. I already know and love you. I want our audience to kind of know and love you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us some background on you and what led you to where you are right now.
Sure thing. So I was born in Mississippi, grew up there, and moved to Orlando in 92, which means I'm practically a native.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are.
So went to school in Mississippi for interior design. I really wanted to be an artist, but parents wanted to know how in the world I was going to support myself.
Sure.
So instead, I went to interior design school, learned how to draft blueprints and plumbing plans, electrical, all that kind of stuff. Spent some time in interior design for several years, spent some time in construction, and my mother-in-law begged me for years, probably for 4 or 5 years, to come into real estate with her. And finally, I gave in. And then realized I was her exit strategy.
Oh, there you go.
Smart lady.
Yeah, she was smart.
But she was the consummate professional realtor and trained me.
All right. So you already broached the subject. At what point in here did you meet your husband?
Met my husband when I was doing design work 16 years ago. We've been married 15 years.
Nice.
And he was building at the time, and I was working at a retail establishment that had design staff. And he called before the Parade of Homes and said, I am doing a house for the Parade of Homes. And, I said, dude, are you asking me for free furniture?
Oh.
He said, yeah. I said, I can't do that. But bring your floor plan in. I'll see what I can do to help. And he didn't end up getting any furniture for the Parade of Homes. Instead, picked out a sofa for the house he had just bought. And while we were picking it out, he said, which fabric would you like? So it's that was
He didn't get any furniture for the
That's
Parade of
pretty
Homes, but
smooth.
He picked up
That's pretty
nice
smooth.
lady.
Yeah, our groom's cake was the sofa.
Oh, that's cute.
It was very
very
cute.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and his name is
Jeff.
Just want to make sure. Hi, Jeff. I'm sure you're listening to it. All right. Love that. So you've got a lot of construction experience, which I know that, but I think it's interesting because now that you're in real estate as an agent, you bring with you just a wealth of insight for designing, they hire you, they get kind of the best of three or four worlds.
They kind of get a package deal because often I'll bring Jeff. He's also a licensed realtor. And so often he'll come along, especially if it's a house that has issues. I always say, baby, can you come with me and unsell this house?
Oh.
Because I don't want anybody to get stuck with something that's a money pit. But, it helps for buyers and sellers, too, before they list. It helps them to know what they're looking at. What are the pitfalls that we could face? What are the hiccups that we might deal with? And how do we get ahead of it?
Right. And so you get a kind of a twofer because Shannon shows up and then Jeff is there to unsell or validate that it's okay.
He's my better half for sure.
Yeah, we like that guy. Well, excellent. So I'm curious, it's been a strange, good and ups and down roller coaster ride the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Curious how that's affected you. Obviously, during COVID, things changed a little bit. Did you slow down at all during the whole COVID thing, or did you ramp up heavy?
So there was a lot of that P word, pivot, that we all had to figure out how to do. So it wasn't really a slowdown for me. It was just different. It was doing business in a different way. A lot of virtual showings and things like that. So a lot of Zoom meetings where people weren't comfortable being face-to-face. I am always a huge fan of face-to-face. That's always my preference.
Right.
So I continued with any customer that wanted to be face-to-face. That's how we did it. It wasn't that big a deal for me. But it definitely didn't. It's just different. It wasn't any slower necessarily. It actually was slower the beginning of this year and end of last year. It was a little bit slower for me than it was during COVID.
Right. How many homes did you sell sight unseen, just virtual tours? Did you sell any of those? Or was it just finally you would do a face-to-face after they chose a house?
Often there was a face-to-face, but I sold one. I took a listing sight unseen without meeting the people face-to-face and sold another listing. The couple never saw it. Actually a couple of homes sold that way with just virtual tours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine.
And there was a surprising level of activity during COVID, wasn't there? With people being home, all of a sudden they noticed they needed a renovation or an improvement or a new space. And there was a lot of that going on.
Right.
Yeah, I think everybody's lifestyle was just very different. And when you're home 24/7, you start to see the things that bother you a lot more intensely. They're just in your face.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely saw people wanting a home office again or an extra bedroom for a home office. Definitely saw a trend for multi-generational that picked up during that time period.
How many people did you deal with that were moving into the state?
Several.
Yeah.
There was quite the back and forth, a lot of influx from California, some influx from New York, and believe it or not, influx and outflow to Colorado. It was
Really?
Interesting.
Really?
Yep.
People leaving here to go to Colorado and vice versa?
Yep.
Wow.
Interesting.
They like their marijuana.
Well, it's a completely different environment. Florida flat and, what do they call it? Horticulture. I mean, it's all plants and flat, and Colorado is all geological with
It's different.
cold and
Colorado
different climate.
itself is flat, but
completely different.
Surrounding Colorado.
And really different rules for pot, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, different political climate as well.
Yes.
And that was some of the motivation, both directions.
Right.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah. Well, and then prices went up because from what I gathered, if you sold a nice house, halfway decent house in New York for $2 million, you can buy a gigantic home here in Florida for half that.
Yeah, so it created a lot of cash buyers that were coming in. And because of that, it made the climate for buyers who were just moving locally from one neighborhood to another made it really challenging. So a year ago, we were seeing 15 offers on every listing by day 3.
Wow.
It was crazy. And trying to navigate that and write a competitive offer that didn't offer too much right out of the gate, but that you could maybe escalate based on other offers. There was definitely a strategy, and being quick on the draw was so important. I cannot tell you how many times a year ago, and a little earlier than that as well, that I would send listings out in the morning, and that afternoon we were looking at them. You had to be really fast on the draw.
Well, I mean, I guess gone are the days where you could think about something for a minute. You have to make a decision while you're in the house, really.
Yeah. So a year ago, March of last year, we were looking at 27 days on the market, and that was I saw many listings on the market for less. That's an average.
Right.
The good properties were less.
Yeah.
And then now we're at 57 days on market.
Really.
So it is growing. What do you attribute that to?
So I think interest rates are part of it, but I think more so people, it's like Chicken Little. The sky is falling, the sky is falling, and it's not. But people think it is. And so people are hesitating. They're taking a breath before they act. We do not have enough inventory. We're still not in a fully balanced market. A balanced market is 6 months supply.
Oh, yeah.
Of inventory. If nothing else came on the market and the turnover happened as it is, it's the number of months that you would have inventory left. A year ago, that was at 0.6 months of inventory. Now we're at 1 3/4.
And that was historic
months.
lows, wasn't it?
Yeah, historic lows for inventory. I feel like the most important thing you can look at for real estate for value, it's a safe investment because over a 100-year average, your increase is always 4% year-over-year appreciation. It's an average. You can look at the graph. They've been recording it for 100 years. It's consistently bounces, and it's an average of 4%. We are coming off of the second largest blow up in history with values being higher. But if you look at the values from right before the Great Recession, actually affordability is higher now than it was then. I don't see our market going drastically down.
Right.
What I see is the year-over-year cycles are going to be different. So normally prices run up in the summer, every summer in our market. And I'm quoting you national numbers, but they kind of correspond and correlate with Orlando.
Well, I'm wondering, because my son's buying a house, and you're helping him with that, him and his wife. And it drives me crazy because when I bought my house 7 years ago, it was a good value. I got a low interest rate. I'm sitting at, in the 2%, in the twos for interest rates. And he's now looking at homes that are almost, $200,000 more than I paid for my home, smaller. And the interest rates are now in the 5s or 6s or higher. And and as a first-time home buyer, it just hurt. We've talked about this a lot, but it just hurts my heart that how are they going to survive? I mean, they're already paying over $2,000 a month just for a rent of a small apartment. And homes are just so expensive. I just couldn't imagine. People say, "Why don't you sell your house?" Because my house is almost double in value in the past 7 years. But if I sell my house, then I still have to buy something.
You got to buy right back into the same market.
This market's nuts.
That's why we have a shortage of
inventory.
Right. Because people who were able to finance at historical lows don't want to give it up.
We're not selling.
Right.
I get calls, Shannon. I get calls probably twice a week. Just, hey, to sell your house there, you want to sell it?
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen stories over the past few months about a lot of ghost inventory in Florida where they're talking about empty homes. Maybe people bought as second homes. And I hear numbers like 10, 12 million homes nationally that are just sitting vacant. They're fine homes, but no one's living in them. Do you have any insights on that?
I have not encountered a ton of that. I'm starting to see some short sales come on the market, a couple of foreclosures recently that I've noticed. I do think there are a lot of people that own secondary homes, but I don't know that I would call that ghost inventory. And going back to what you were talking about, buying a home is a sure thing investment as long as you're going to hold it a little bit longer. The interest rate is higher, but it's still historically low.
Yeah.
If you go back and look, it's still historically low.
So that's why I have to, as a dad, I have to kind of isolate myself because it hurts my heart, but it is what it is. I mean, I remember when my parents bought their house, it was in the Reagan eras, and they had a variable interest rate for 13%.
Yeah, I remember 14, 16, 18% interest rates.
I'm sorry, I'm too young. I don't remember that.
Oh.
So I did have a conversation with your son and daughter-in-law, and I love them.
Yeah.
The last conversation that I emailed them and said, I need for you to consider your lifestyle in this purchase as well, because there's home maintenance, mortgage, insurance, and all of that, but there's also the lifestyle that you're living.
Yeah.
And so what I would encourage you to do is live your life like you're paying that payment already and see if you like that lifestyle.
Right.
Oh, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
That being said, I think we as a society, I noticed myself even through COVID, we were out on the boat every afternoon playing because I couldn't stand seeing the four walls I was sitting in anymore. So we would work in the morning and head out on the lake in the afternoon. And my husband informed me this week we have to go back to work full time.
Get off the boat, Captain.
Yeah. So, and right now I'm seeing 10, 12, 14-hour days. Wow. I am really pushing because people are ready to do something.
Yeah. It is important not to become house poor.
Yes.
Because I might be able to afford it, but I can't afford anything else.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
My house is 18 years old, and just this past month, I've had literally a slew of maintenance items that, and I was able to kind of show them, like, listen, my garage door needed to be replaced, the opener, so that was $600. And then that night, my air conditioner went out, and that was another, almost $10,000, for a new unit. And then, oh, by the way, the following week, my water heater goes out and there's a leak in the garage. We need to get you a home warranty. Right. But it's like, what's left? And so I was telling them, I was like, these things happen. So you may be able to afford it. But if you don't have something there, even a credit card, just to kind of be able to put a major expense on, it could be an issue. Obviously, my next big purchase is probably going to be a roof.
Yeah, I've got that on my agenda as well.
I know it. I'm trying not to pray for a big storm, but, it wouldn't hurt. Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole-in-the-Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.
Shannon, what are you seeing as far as new home construction? Is that going well? Is it slow? What's the story with new homes?
So we're years behind on new home starts. And
years.
So that's part of the problem is that the builders, they kind of cycle after. So they had too much inventory before the Great Recession, and then they didn't want to get stuck again, so they slowed, and it took them time.
And even the lenders that loaned money to the builders were kind of tight.
Sure. Plus material costs were going crazy.
Right.
The one sheet of plywood used to be, $35 was now in the 70s or 80s.
Right. But I love helping people with new construction because it gives me a chance to I actually go to the design appointments with them if they're doing, they get to pick some of their finishes. And so we kind of walk through that together. Many times when you go to the design center, you can really get out of control and blow the budget accidentally. So I go to that appointment to make sure or multiple appointments, to make sure that they don't pay for things that they can do for cheaper after construction.
Right.
And to make sure that they do the things that are going to be too costly to go back and fix later.
That's good. So new construction, in my mind, is a really great avenue. But in Florida, there's not a lot of new construction in the nicer area. There's not a lot of new construction in Winter Park, or even in Conway, there's not a lot.
Even if you could afford it in Winter Park, right?
Yeah. So then new construction, you're going to have to kind of go out a little bit more. Is that right?
Well, there's only so many lots, but I can tell you in my neighborhood, there were in the last 3 years, 6 or 7 houses that were knocked down and they built new.
Oh, wow.
That is interesting.
That sounds expensive.
It was.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So obviously I know the answer to this question, but how important is it to you as a realtor to have strategic relationships with people that can help your homeowners, i.e.,
drywall repair? Yeah. So to be really good at my job, I can't do it by myself. I have to have a team around me. And me being the local resource for my customers consistently is how it's another way I can bring value to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell my customers from the very beginning, if you need anything, call me. If you need drywall, I've got somebody. If you need a painter, I've got somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't usually say divorce attorney because I don't really want to promote that, but you know what I'm saying, like a tax attorney or an accountant, bookkeeper, all those kinds of things. I try to build relationships with partners and especially the trades,
Right.
so that when someone has a problem, they call me and I connect them immediately so that they have somebody that they can trust.
It's really the benefit of having, and we did a podcast on referral networking a few weeks ago, but we talked about this a lot. Yes, and maybe it's not necessarily about getting business from you, but it's about being a resource for other people. And so when you're in a relationship with other people and for business, you trust them, right? So I would rather go to somebody that I know you trust. If you're like, listen, I know a good painter and I've used him and I trust him, I'm more apt to trust that painter than I am just going to the yellow pages or the internet.
Yeah, they have credibility.
There's credibility there.
Right.
And so referral marketing, the networking that we do together, how important is that to your business?
So we're in a BNI chapter together, and I looked at my stats this morning, and over the last 12 months, I'm averaging $2,000 a month income from specifically that resource or that group.
Really? Just for that one group?
Yep.
In full disclosure, I'm the president of the BNI chapter, and Shannon's my vice president. So we do have quite the...
We've got a great chapter.
We have a pretty good chapter.
It's a great family environment. Yeah.
I enjoy... every now and then I have to stop and take stock on how the relationships I've made through networking has benefited the company. Because listen, it can be a chore sometimes to show up every week and to do the meetings and do the one-to-ones. And it's not for everybody, and it's not for all the time. Bill was in a BNI chapter for several years, was in leadership, and he's not there anymore because I need him to do other things. But when I know that my marketing team, my CPA team, my attorney team, we just hired Bonnie to work on our training program for our franchises. And,
Videographer.
We are a videographer with Tyler. And it's everyone that is touching our business, and I know that they have
they're quality.
excellence.
Well, first of all, they're quality people.
Yep.
And they all provide high quality services.
And so having that resource available to me, there's no way I would ever recommend anybody other than those people because I trust them so. I've trusted them with my business. I've trusted Kyle Davis with my family, my mother-in-law, my parents, my children, taking care of all their financial advisory stuff that I didn't know we needed.
Right.
I trust Kyle with that. And the lifelong friends we've made, one day when we're not in BNI, God forbid, we'll still be friends, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what's fun. So when my son and daughter-in-law needed to buy a home, I'm only recommending the one person that I trust the most, and that's you, obviously.
Thank you.
I know a lot of
Appreciate
realtors.
Yeah,
and
we
I
do.
apologize to all of them in advance, but the reality is that I have to take care of my friends that I'm just with on a weekly basis, people that I trust the most, and that's important. And having those relationships with trades, we have a great roofing company. I work with a lot of roofers, and so I know a lot of roofers, and I've actually had people in my group, in my sphere, that ask me for a roofer, and that some of those roofers aren't credible that we work with. A lot are, I won't name any names because I've got some beautiful roofers that we work with, but First Class Roofing is a roofing company that we work with a lot, and they not only do new roofs, but they do repairs.
Right.
And to me, sometimes you just need a repair. You don't need a brand new roof.
Yeah, a lot of roofing companies don't even want to bother with
want to touch
repairs anymore.
Well,
Yeah, many.
insurance is an issue in the state of Florida,
It is
so
now,
sometimes repairs are,
Yeah. I know. Well, if it's too new, then you can still repair it.
yes.
But having somebody like that in your back pocket is important. So
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts about BNI, though, is I really enjoy helping other people grow their business. One of my favorite things to do, and I think it's a symptom of my ADHD, I love to sit down with someone and help brainstorm for their business ideas. It just makes me so happy to do that. And so I think that part of the relationships when I'm sitting and doing one-to-ones with someone and getting to know them, getting to know about their business, oftentimes it's easier for you to see something that someone else might miss in their own business because they're in it, not looking at it. So it's easier sometimes to have somebody else look at your business.
Yeah, we find
and
real
give you
value
advice.
in that here at Hole in the Wall as well.
Yeah,
we love when people come in and are able to do just that.
Yeah. So I heard a statistic that Florida is the number one growth state of all last year. And I got an article pulled up here on the computer screen that was from March, that said that we had over 1,200 people a day moving to Florida. And Texas was close, that they're just under, they're like 900 and change a day. That's over 440 plus thousand people moving into the state of Florida.
That is amazing.
It's a
So
lot.
inventory is a big deal. And I'm just curious how that's going to affect. I mean, demand is going to be high now because during the COVID, a lot of people were moving in, but people haven't stopped. You know, I remember even during Hurricane Maria, we had all those people that were in Puerto Rico that had to, hundreds of thousands that had to move to Florida from Puerto Rico.
It's definitely an issue. We have a shortage of inventory and we have a shortage of affordable housing in our area. I heard the other day that there's a lot of Wall Street companies that are actually relocating to Miami. Now, I haven't researched it to see if it's factual, but it was on the news.
I believe. So. Listen, we have lots of big companies moving to Florida here in Orlando.
Yeah,
I mean, Lake Nona's got KPMG, a huge accounting firm. Disney's relocating some of their stuff here to the Lake Nona area. Lots of big buildings being built.
Right.
So I can see it being something that booms for quite a while. What I'm taking away from this is I need to relax my worry as a dad that this really is not a bad time to buy.
It's not a bad time to buy.
It's not a bad investment. It's going to be a good investment.
No, it's not a bad investment. Real estate, buy dirt. Real estate is a good investment. It is proven over 100 years, 4% appreciation year over year. It is the fastest way to build generational wealth.
What's the current wisdom from that country song, Buy Dirt? Have you heard it?
Yeah.
Buy dirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. I've heard it. Well, Shannon, this is great. Anything else we need to talk about?
I don't think so.
I'm super excited that we had a chance to do this finally. Let's let our audience know the best way to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you and get some wisdom, or hopefully have them, you can help them sell their house and upgrade to a nice new house somewhere.
I would be delighted to help. The best way to reach me is my phone number, 407-230-3997.
Excellent. 3997. All right. Very good. Well, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. This has been great.
You.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.